favorite part was getting yelled at for not doing something that had very little to do with me. Like, I was getting yelled at for so my boss was yelling at me for doing exactly what she asked for. She had asked me to do ABC. Oh no, Luna. I hope you feel better. Trying to figure. Trying to figure out how to get this to work because my camera got all messed up again. There, we'll add a little warmth. Okay. That looks a lot better. Gold leader standing by. Hey guys, welcome, welcome. I was super fatigued all day too. Like, I just felt super exhausted. Then like halfway through the day, I got this like really terrible headache. It was not great. Nope, that made it worse. There we go. Yeah, it was just in general, it was a really, like, not great day. Aw, thank you, Brett. I don't feel like I'm beautiful. I'm in, like, my fuzzy don't care pajamas. And my hair is, like, all kinds of frizzy, and, yeah. Not feeling particularly beautiful today. I'm feeling exhausted. Is how I'm feeling today. Oh no! I guess we should read quick. So, if you're new here, hi, I'm Amanda Mom. I read books. You need cheese. Oh no, I don't need any food. I am not hungry. Anyway. If you're new here, hi, I'm Amanda Mom. I read Star Wars books online. I said I wasn't hungry, but I still had a little piece of my cookie left. The Girl Scouts got me, so I got a pack of cookies that I eat one day. So yeah. I read Star Wars books online. We mostly are going through the Legends timeline. However, because I have ADHD, occasionally we take detours to other books, all Star Wars books, of course. We read things like Rise of the Red Blade, which is a newer book about somebody going from a Padawan to an Inquisitor. We read The Living Force, which by John Jackson Miller. That book was amazing. That takes place before the Phantom Menace, and it covers pretty much the whole entire Jedi Council as of the Phantom Menace. and their personalities and stuff like that. So that was kind of cool because we got to like get to know some different Jedi. We read Rise and Fall of the Galactic Empire to give us a little bit of Hope Core. Am I missing ones from the non? I think that's it for the non-Legends timeline. As for the Legends timeline, we started with Darth Plagueis, which was awesome. Then we read Cloak of Deception, which is the most boring Star Wars book ever written. And then it was Maul Shadowhunter, and now we are on Maul Lockdown. Mostly it's Legends timeline. Oh, and we read Death Troopers every October. I will say that upcoming, when we finish Maul Lockdown, we are going to read, we're going to take a break from the Legends timeline and go with something that's currently canon, which is Queen's Peril, which is a Padme book that kind of takes place before the events of the Phantom Menace and then goes into the events of the Phantom Menace. So we're going to read Queen's Peril, and then we're going to read the Phantom Menace book. Dang it, it was who the Sass Master with the long... Who was the Sass Master with the long neck here? Isn't that Yariel Poof? I think that was Yariel Poof. Yeah. You're talking about this guy? Yariel Poof. But yeah, that was like the coolest thing about the Living Force, is getting to know like the personalities of the Jedi Council in a way that we've never seen before. The other cool thing that I really, really like about the Living Force was, well, you learned about Oppo Rancisis, who is like the guy that's just like hair piled on a face. Learning that he had 4 arms and he didn't have legs, he had a tail. He like slithered like a Naga. So that was kind of cool because we don't get to know the Jedi Council in the same way that we get to know like Anakin and Obi-Wan, Padme. You know, that was cool. I really, really enjoyed that. So we can start reading so that all you people who want to go to sleep, myself included, can go to sleep. Same rules apply as usual. If we hit the live goal, then I will read 4 chapters. If I don't hit the live goal, I'll only read 2. I am currently out of live goal jail. Let me set up the live goal. I didn't do that beforehand. So yeah, the only time I don't do 4 chapters instead of 2 is like things like the Rise and Fall of the Galactic Empire, because those chapters were long. They were so long. Yeah. So anyway, so the reason why I didn't finish my story, the reason why I was so tired is my boss has a tendency to yell at me for things that she doesn't communicate. So I got chewed out this morning in our morning call because I did exactly what she asked me to do. She tells me to do ABC. I did ABC, and then she chews me out because I didn't do X, Y, and Z, and I didn't make a comment on pi because I didn't know that there was a change to pi that she needed to, that she got the information but never communicated it to me. So that was super frustrating, and it just like, it set the tone for the entire day. Like it just made me annoyed. So it was really hard to focus on work and like be good at my job today because I was just so pissed off about that, like all day. Like I could just not get it out of my head. But she does this regularly. Like she will chew, not just me, but she'll chew out different people on the team purely because she doesn't communicate well. I sometimes wonder if she has trouble reading, because like I had my thing that we were talking about, and she kept asking questions that were on the document. Like, she's like, what is it? What does it say? She's like, why doesn't it say this? I'm like, it does say this. See right there? Well, what is this? I was like, see the label right there? I don't understand this. What part don't you understand? It's a bar graph. What part of, and everything's labeled on the bar graph. What's the problem with the bar graph? So that's kind of how she did. Like I did it's getting really frustrating when stuff like that happens, because she does it all the time. And like today in our meeting, she asked a question, I answered the question, then like 2 minutes later, she asked the same question 3 separate times. I answered it 3 separate times, and each time she just kind of ignored the answer. Like I said, it set the tone for the, like, this was my morning, like, first thing that I have to do in the morning meeting, and it just, actually, that's not the first thing I had to do in the morning. The first thing I had to do this morning was get on a call to hear about corporate buzzwords, optimizing the prioritization of the standardization of the synergy, strategic blah 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 blah. Just think of like a meeting where it's just sentence after sentence of corporate buzzwords, and there's really, answer, say, huh? Okay, so I wrote like a little mini sketch just to give you an example. This is going to be a Death Star IT sketch here in the near future. Hopefully I have time to film this weekend. Let me read to you like exactly how it sounds. Okay. Yeah, I gotta scan up because I added some notes. Part 1. Death Star IT update. Lessons learned. Hi everyone, thanks for joining this quick sync. I'll keep this high level to respect everyone's bandwidth. As you know, the Death Star experienced a thermal exhaust port related service interruption. We did lose the entire battle station, but the team did a fantastic job capturing actionable insights before being vaporized. Moving forward, we're reframing the incident as an operational learning opportunity. We are no longer referring to it as a small unprotected hole. It is now a ventilation adjacent dispersal channel. And it is shield adjacent, so that's a huge win. We are documenting best practices to avoid future planet-sized outages, because here at Imperial IT, failure isn't failure, it's a pilot program. Like, she just is just like a whole bunch of corporate buzzwords thrown into PowerPoint slides that then I sit there for 30 to 45 minutes while we just read the buzzwords off the slide. And it's like, I'm being told I'm supposed to spend like X amount of hours a week on this project, but there's no like clear what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm supposed to optimize and standardize production. I don't work in production. So I'm just trying to, like, every time, and I don't know how to ask, like, what do you mean, without sounding dumb. Like, I'm very much, like, faking this. And my coworker, who's also on this project, I keep asking him, like, so what am I supposed to do? Because I don't understand what we're doing. And he goes, me neither. Maybe the next meeting they'll tell it. We just keep having meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting about establishing a timeline for synergistic production, standardization, and optimization. And as you can imagine, it's a slide, and it's got like the blue kind of circle, and it's, you know, it looks like you went into ChatGPT and said, make a PowerPoint slide that's about optimization and standardization. Please include as many buzzwords as possible without actually explaining what it is we're doing. Supreme Chancellor! It's so... And the girl that's running this is super nice. Like, don't get me wrong. I love her. She's great. But every single meeting with her, like, I have different projects that she's included on that I'm supposed to champion with her with no clear, like, direction. Like, there's no explanation of what it is we're standardizing processes. But there's no, like, indication of which processes you are looking to standardize. And, like, some of the stuff from what I've gathered, it doesn't make any sense. Like, they want it across the company. They want to standardize a process. But the stuff that applies to my section does not apply to other parts of the company, even though they want to apply the standardization process to a different part. It just doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't. So, well, I have to use ChatGPT. Like, they're making us use it for work. Like, everything has to go through ChatGPT now. I started using Claude. I know we shouldn't use AI, and, you know, it's destroying our water table, but I wanted to support Claude because they stood up to Kegseth. So that's why I have Claude now. So I did start creating a flowchart as well. Like, this is like a more production-based Death Star IT. I was gonna make PowerPoint slides to show up on a green screen, to like really make it realistic. Jen is going to give a PowerPoint presentation on how we can make the Death Star more secure. Yeah, so I am trying to like phase out using ChatGPT. I have a lot of stuff saved in ChatGPT from before, but I'm like moving over to Claude, just because they seem to have higher ethical standards. I mean, tech bros don't really have ethical standards, but Claude seems to have at least like a modicum of standards. So, I mean, it's better than nothing, I guess, right? Better than nothing. So, are we ready to read? Hello, it is I. Don't worry, Bella's fine as wine. She is eternal. Oh, okay. Silver, you should make some intergalactic. And oh, I started working on my new flak vest, which is fun. Because I have to get armor ready for 2 weeks. So. Ooh, Omni. See, that's the part that, like, the Galactic News Network stuff, I can't even make. Like, when he was releasing ridiculous executive orders, imperial orders, that was one thing. I can make those funny. But I cannot make these things funny. Like, there's just, it's so horrible that, like, there's not, the only thing I can make funny is the fact that he keeps falling asleep in meetings. He fell asleep today. Like, I saw a live, I don't even know what it was for, but he's sitting there and he's doing it, what my dad used to do when he'd fall asleep in front of the TV. He's like, like, that was the whole thing. Like, you could see him on camera, and he's falling asleep. It was awful. So, well, yeah, Ericus decided to attack every other system nearby because they included Imperial bases, right? I mean, the Empire attacked a school full of children. I think that's the part, but that's like, I can't make a joke. I don't want to make a joke about it. Like, let's be clear. I don't want to make jokes of those things. I don't want to make light of those things. They are sickeningly horrible. But it just, it's so incredibly infuriating. Like, I can't even, like, begin to explain how infuriating it is. Like I said, I can't make it funny. Like, I can't make Galactic News Network funny videos right now because I don't have things that are funny. I don't have ridiculous DIE, Department of Imperial Efficiency. I don't have Department of Imperial Efficiency things to make fun of. I don't have ridiculous Imperial orders that make no sense and don't really do anything. I don't have any of those. Like discontinuing the copper Imperial credit. Like I don't have anything. Like that was funny. What's happening now? Not funny. Like there's nothing about it that's funny. And then you have all the stuff about the Emperor and his relationship with Higo Damask. Like, again, there is nothing about that I can make funny. It's horrendous. So that's part of the problem. I cannot make those funny. I can't make Galactic News Network stuff because there's nothing I can make light of. Like it's just horrible. It's just bad. It's just bad. I mean, the only thing I could do that, like, the funniest thing I thought of for, like, Galactic News Network for what's going on is that I could make a funny video about how Palpatine said that the reason that they went after Ericus was this. They were looking for Karkite, and then Ornfree Ta comes out and says that it's because they were about to strike Coruscant, and then oh goodness, who is the vice in I can picture him but I can't think of his name. Blue, Spikes, second in command of Palpatine, what's his name? Him. He came out and said it's because it's to further Sith doctrine. Like it's just that's probably the only thing that I could make funny is yes, Mas Amida, thank you. Like Mas Amida came out and said it was this, and Ornfree Ta said it was something else. And Palpatine said it was something else. Because who has all come out? Palpatine said it. The President, the Vice President, Secretary of War, Secretary of State. I think those are the only ones that made announcements. But and then the military has come out today. So 5 different stories about why we did it. Like that's the only thing that like I could make light of, is that each person seems to have made up a new story. But yeah, beyond that, there's just nothing. There's nothing funny. It's not funny anymore. Like it's not ridiculousness. It's just awful. So, is it like a reflection of the real world but a Star Wars parody? Yes. So I have a character, her name is Cara Lanix. She does the Galactic News Network. She was a news anchor. I started doing those videos last year, basically making light of all the ridiculousness coming out of the real world, but making it Star Wars. You know, I mean, code word wise, it works well. So that I get past the censors. But yeah, there's just nothing funny. It's not, the ridiculousness is gone, and now we're just doing terrible things. So, and when I was at therapy this week, I was like, I told my therapist, I'm like, I feel exhausted by it all, and I know that was the point. They have exhausted me. It doesn't mean I'm gonna stop fighting, but I need a rest. I need a break. I need some good news of some kind. Anyway, let's read. We are on chapter 23 of our book. So settle in, get comfy. If you need a blanket, go get one. Yeah, sometimes I wonder if the Empire would be better. Certainly the Fire Nation would be better. Maul sat in his cell, poised on the bench. Oh, can you guys hear me over on the tube? Okay. The hatch stood open in front of him. The rest of Gen Pop was out wandering the gallery, killing time and waiting for the alarms to signal the next fight. But for the moment, he preferred solitude, or what passed for it. His recovery was not complete. He needed time and silence to rebuild his strength. Leaning forward, he placed his right hand between his knees, lifted himself off the bench with one arm, holding there for a count of 50 before lowering himself and switching to the other arm. He repeated this exercise 10 times for each arm, back and forth. Then, using both arms, he lifted himself straight up into the air, extending his legs, body held erect until every muscle trembled with the strain. There was nothing particularly pleasant about the deep core burn, but it was familiar and provided an outlet for the anger that had continued to grow and fester in him since he'd returned from the warden's office. He lowered himself back to the bench and exhaled, shaking off the sweat from his head. Even with the hatchway open, he felt a faint sense of claustrophobia. The cell felt minutely smaller. Perhaps it was... That is not where a period belongs. Perhaps it was retractable walls and ceiling panels, which would certainly be programmed for such subtle adjustments. And at this point, he'd almost expected Siddiqui to be tampering with his sense of perception, in whatever way she could. He'd frustrated her attempts to interrogate him, but that wasn't much comfort. What he'd really longed to do was rip her head off with his bare hands, but that wouldn't solve his problems either. Oh, warning! For everyone, this book be violent. So, if you are youngins, this is not a book for you. Not that it has any kind of spicy content that is inappropriate. However, this book be violent. So, just a side note. I should have prefaced that before reading, but the book does get a little violent. It's Maul. So, Maul is in prison. Just saying. I'm going to keep matching you. He'd expected nothing less. She would keep fighting him until she'd killed him or told her why he was seeking Radiq. If the wiretap device hidden beneath her desk was any indication, she wasn't the only one trying to gain that information. His thoughts migrated to Artagan Truex and his son. Both would be under heavy guard because of their escape attempt, rendering them currently inaccessible. But Maul knew that if he bided his time, the opportunity would present itself. He remembered the old man's whispered words. Egan knows everything. Yes, and if he did... Something moved outside the cell. Instantly on his feet, Maul was moving to the open hatchway in less than a second. But what he found waiting for him was not an inmate at all. The Clawbird, perched across the concourse, gazed down at him with black and lightless eyes, the same bird he'd spotted in the tunnels. It had something in its mouth. A scrap of bone? "What are you doing here?" Maul asked it. At once, the thing let out a sharp, plaintive call, then spread its wings and took flight. Without making any conscious decision to do so, Maul went after it. Running down the long corridor, bolting past the occasional inmate loitering outside the cells, he cut through great swaths of open space, never letting the bird out of his sight. The walls blurred by. Leaping a waist-level barrier, vaulting over a pile of debris at the end of the walkway, he knocked 2 prisoners aside without slowing down. The clawbird flew faster. It darted upward along the ceiling, cut left, and disappeared through a ventilation shaft. Propelling his body upward, Maul flung himself into it, plummeting down a 10-meter drop and hit the ground running, his eyes instantly adjusting to the darkness, chasing it through a half-visible maze of utility droids and sub-corridors, branching off in half a dozen directions. He couldn't see the bird any longer, but he could still hear it clearly up ahead, its wings pounding hard through the gray spaces, betraying its position. Sprinting and jumping across an unfinished platform, he landed on the other side and cut across the catwalk that adjoined it to the web of cables that affixed it to the far wall. Maul grabbed the cables and pulled himself hand over hand to his destination, and swung himself up and through yet another hatchway into the wide open space that awaited him there. The bird had landed on an insulated electrical conduit, and was staring down at him from the thick warren of debris, wires, threads, bits of circuitry, and trash, that he realized must be the thing's nest. For a moment it stared down at him with what might have been the begrudgingly admiration. The small bit of bone was still clasped in its beak. Maul glared at it. "What are you doing here, bird?" He looked around at the space where the chase had led him, a region he'd heard described as the factory floor. According to prison lore, it was another unfinished level somewhere beneath the haunted reaches of the metal shop, and for a moment he simply peered into the arched ribs of the ceiling's support struts, then down onto the abandoned steel prairie of the Durasteel platform. The word factory seemed to have been applied in its loosest imaginable interpretation. Whatever was supposed to have been manufactured here had gotten no further than the machinery that had been installed to build it. Conveyor belts and pallet racks stood empty around him. Up above, smoked glass lenses gleamed down. More surveillance, omnipresent eyes. Maul moved past all with barely a glance. The cold vacuum of space felt very near, pressing against the outer shell of the space station with its own hissing intensity, and he felt artificial gravity intensifying, a byproduct of poorly calibrated field generators that nobody had bothered to install properly in the first place. Like much of Coghive 7, this place had a slapdash inconsistency, as if the whole thing had been put together in the dark. Of all the technology, only the cameras, silent and omnipresent, seemed to function according to spec. Guards were watching. Guards were always watching. He took several more steps and stopped short. The structure in front of him, he supposed you had to call it a sculpture, was built entirely out of bones. Sorry, hiccups. Whew. Sorry. He stood as tall as he was, a gangling conflation of ribs, skulls, and phalanges, human and non-human alike, all wired together into some utterly new composition. It wasn't the only one of its kind. Looking around, he saw that part of the factory floor was a veritable forest of bone sculptures, some suspended from the ceilings, other perched on the walls. As indifferent as he was to aesthetics, Maul found the assemblages themselves strangely compelling. "Ah, thank you for the follow, Joshua!" Whatever else was happening in the bowels of Coghive 7, someone, or something, was down here creating a new race of horrors that the galaxy itself had never dreamed of, in the blackest of night. It spoke to some part of him that he'd never known to exist. For an instant, he thought of the clawbird with the bone in its beak, and he understood now why he'd followed it here. It had led him to the one who'd made all of these things. That was when he heard it, the unmistakable servo whir of mechanized belt treads moving up from behind. He spun around to see a small maintenance droid advancing blithely toward him, carrying more bones with it. When the droid saw Maul, it stopped and squawked at him with some form of machine language. "What are you doing here?" Maul asked. The droid didn't move. Then, with a panicked chirp, it reversed its treads and tried to get away. but Maul lunged for it and hoisted up, arresting its escape. "Easy, Jagannath," a voice said. "There's no need to terrorize my droid, now is there?" Maul set the thing aside and looked to face the diminutive inmate standing behind him. Beaming serenely up at him, it was Chandra Fan he'd met in the mess hall, the only one who hadn't reacted to the explosion in the kitchen. "Coil? Lost your way among the great unwashed, did you, brother?" Brushing off the droid, Coil patterned it on its head and sent the thing on its way. "What are you doing all the way down here, we wonder?" "I followed the Clawbird," Maul said. "Bird?" Coil blinked at him. "Now that's a riddle worth pondering, isn't it? Why did the prisoner chase the bird?" Then, without waiting for Maul's answer, he knelt down and began gathering bones that the droid had dropped, humming quietly to itself as he did so. "Mind giving me a hand with these, brother? Got a work in progress around here somewhere, don't we?" "Yeah, I know I'm almost at 10K. So close. I just gotta be better about making content." Maul looked at the bone sculptures. "All these are yours?" "Hobby of mine, isn't it?" Coil gave the armload of bones a fretful glance. "These aren't going to be enough. I was supposed to meet a couple of the kings here. They were bringing me another shipment." He swung one arm encompassing the sculptures. "I build things, you see. And around a place like this, bones are most of the common construction materials." "Catch my meaning, do you?" He gestured across the vacant darkness to the other side of the conveyor belt by the opposite wall, and Maul looked up. Chandra Fan's newest sculpture was a towering convocation of femurs, ribs, and vertebrae with sleek skeletal wings and a face built completely out of skulls. It rose into the uppermost shadows of the factory floor, at least 8 meters high. That was a big sculpture. But there was an aspect of it that Maul hadn't noticed before. Viewed from a certain angle, the bones crisscrossed to form a pattern, like a mathematical equation or some foreign alphabet, a code that defined immediate interpretation. He cocked his head, stepping closer. There was something inside the sculpture, something he couldn't quite see from here. "What does it mean?" "Mean? Mean?" Coil chuckled again. "It means you still haven't answered my riddle, brother." "What question?" "Why did the prisoner follow the bird?" The Chandra Fan peered up at his sculpture for a moment, then without waiting for Maul's answer, tucked a pile of slender bones under one arm and scurried up a ladder to the top of a maintenance gantry along the sculpture. Maul glared up at him. "Why? What else did you build down here?" "Oh, all sorts of wonderful things." "Weapons? Ah, that's another riddle, isn't it?" Coil gazed down at him, and this time his rodent-like face bore no trace of expression. "Anything can be a weapon," he said quietly. "Isn't that so?" Then another glint of a smile as he ran his fingers along the underside of the gantry arm and held them up for Maul to see the faint reddish-black residue. "Slimy to touch, greasy to feel, but mix me with blood and I'll eat through steel." His eyes twinkled. "Do you take my meaning, brother?" "Enough riddles," Maul said, with the last of his patience draining away. He grabbed the Chandra Fan by the shoulder, drawing him close. "I know that I'm getting closer to Iran Radique. I need to talk to him soon. My employer has business to transact." "Your employer?" A cool voice spoke up from behind him. "And what employer might that be?" Maul released Coil and spun around. The Twi'lek was standing less than a meter away, his gaze fixed on Maul's. His approach had been absolutely silent, as if he'd been borne forth on the current of dark smoke. "Zero," he said. "Jagannath." The Twi'lek nodded at him in acknowledgement, then turned his attention to the unfinished bone sculpture next to the maintenance gantry. "Ah." He touched with what appeared to be a genuine admiration. "This is coming along very well, Coil. You've made great strides." "I thank you," Coil said. "I'm still not finished, though. I need more bones." "No shortage of those. What is it that we say?" the Twi'lek considered. "The worm turns." Coil smiled, finishing the sayings. "And there are always more bones." "Worm?" Maul asked. "Ah," Coil said, turning back to Maul. "That's the next question, isn't it?" He smiled, but this time there was very little warmth in it, and he spoke in the same sing-song rhyme. The nightmare had a nightmare of its own, deep inside the darkness, fully grown. Maul turned to Zero for an explanation. What is he talking about? My friend here speaks of the Cyrox and the wolf worm of Coghive 7, the one that moves in the ductwork of the prison, where it lives and grows fat on the blood from the matches. A nightmare within our nightmare, if you like. You may have already encountered its offspring, Jagannath, and you no doubt will again. But the thing itself, well... He stopped and shuddered with revulsion. At night sometimes, in the lowest maintenance shafts, if you put your ear to the wall... Horror stories don't interest me, Maul said. Being one yourself, Coil piped up, I would think they might, wouldn't it? No, he found Zero. Zero is the Twi'lek. Zero is the Twi'lek. He's looking for Iram Radiq, the weapons dealer, which we still don't know who it is, but based on this, now that I think about it more and more, I think it's a Dread Pirate Roberts situation. I think that there is no specific person called Iram Radiq. I think it's the name gets passed on, right? Or it's a collection of people that all go by the same name when they're doing the weapons dealing. But I'm gonna guess it's a Dread Pirate Roberts situation. Ignoring the Shadrafan, Maul kept his attention focused on Zero. I met the man you told me about, he said. The one who came here looking for Iram Radiq. The one who saved his life. His name is Artagan Truax. Truax? The Twi'lek's expression was impossible to read. Is that right? Radiq exists, Maul said, and I know he's here somewhere. The gang serve him, or someone who works for him. They smuggle the weapons parts in on the supply shipments. There's a chain of command, and Radiq uses it to protect his identity. He waited for Zero to deny any of this, but the Twi'lek just regarded him thoughtfully. When he spoke again, his voice was low and careful. Assuming that you are one step closer to finding the truth, Zero murmured, you'll need to look much harder than that. Who's above the gangs? Maul asked. Who's the go-between? Zero gazed at him. You know, Coil is right. Coghive 7 is a nightmare, and yet... The Twi'lek regarded him silently for a moment. You have already witnessed courage within these walls as well, have you not? And perhaps even selflessness? Maul felt his forehead growing hot with anger. I see only weakness, and the weakness is its own punishment, just as strength is its own regard. Is it so simple, then? The Twi'lek inquired. But the remark didn't seem to have anything to do with what Maul had said. And meanwhile, you remain unswavering in your mission. Yes. The search for Iram Radiq. One that hadn't consciously occurred to him before now. What if all this, even these oblique riddles, this maddening uncertainty, the questions that themselves seemed pointless and incidental, might all be part of some larger test from Sidious? A means of evaluating his capabilities as a Sith Lord before he allowed Maul to participate fully in the grand plan. He narrowed his eyes at the Twi'lek. I need to know everything. In that case, Jagannath, I invite you to look upon the answers to your own riddle. Do you remember it? He gestured up at the bone sculptures. Why does the prisoner chase the bird? And now, Maul saw what was moving inside it, flapping its black wings in the shadows. I don't... Because it's a rook, Zero said. Maul turned back to look at him, but the Twi'lek had already turned and started to walk away from Maul, descending into the darkness. Alright, since I'm getting so sleepy, let me just head right into the next chapter. Chapter 24. Wish List. Ooh, we're like halfway through now. Look at that. Boy, wake up. Maul watched as Egan opened his eyes and stared directly up at the red tattooed face peering down at him. When Egan tried to sit up, Maul held his shoulders down, pinning him flat to his bunk and leaning down to speak in his ear. Where is your father? He stood in medbay. He's still in medbay, the boy said. His leg. Maul shook his head. I just checked. He's not there. Where was he taken? Taken? The bewilderment in Egan's face erupted into panic. His face looked haggard and terrified, his cheeks still bruised and swollen from where Voistock's elbow had struck it, and then realization began to seep through his features. Why would anyone... Your father knew Radique, Maul said. Who? Iram Radique. Your father saved his life and followed him to Coghive 7. That's why he brought you here. In Medbay, he told you that you have information about where I can find him. He said you know everything that he knows. That's not... Egan shook his head. I don't know anything about that, I swear. Maul resisted the urge to shake him just to see what might come loose. It had not been a good night. Since leaving the factory floor and his highly unsatisfactory meeting with Zero and Coil, he'd prowled the holding cells relentlessly, making his way to Medbay only to find it deserted. The old man's cell was empty too. Maul had questioned the gang members, but no one knew anything of Artag and Truax's whereabouts. Having spoken Radique's name aloud, the old man seemed to have vanished completely, swallowed whole by the system that imprisoned him. Some Force users can, but it's not like a natural thing. Look, you have to believe me, Egan said. If I knew anything, I'd tell you. He gaped at Maul beseechingly. I've never heard of this guy, Radique. Maul looked down at him. Maddening as it was, everything the boy said rang true. His ignorance on the topic of Radique and his father's connection to the arms dealer sounded absolutely authentic. There was only one part of the story that didn't make sense. If you don't have any connection with Radique, Maul said, then why are you still alive? Why didn't the guards terminate you and your father after you tried to escape? To this, the boy had no answers. Maul left him there in the bunk and went back to the concourse, up the long hallway to the silence that lay beyond. Jagannath? Ismash's voice whispered. It's me. Maul paused and glanced down to where the other inmate was crouched back against the wall, outside the prison laundry facility. Even here, amid the leftover reek of detergent, he smelled the Nelvanian before he'd seen him, the dampish feral odor of the inmate's fur, already familiar to his nostrils. Brought you something, Ismash said, digging into his hip pocket of his uniform, and slipping a tightly folded rectile of flimsipast into Maul's palm. Just downloaded it off the utility server. Not the easiest thing to get, either on account of... Is it complete? Uh-huh. There was no mistaking the trace of pride in the Nelvanian's voice. That's everybody, far as I can tell. Maul scanned the list of names. 218 names in all, with numbers, cell assignments, and criminal histories. In reverse chronological order, some of them going back several years. His own name was the most recent addition, a singular name, Jagannath, and a list of trumped-up mercenary charges and crimes that Sidious had provided for him before he dispatched Maul on the mission. Out of the corner of his eye, he was aware of Ismash beginning to edge away into the shadows. Wait. The Nelvanian stopped. Who's this? Maul pointed to a name midway down the list, one that had leapt out at him instantly, echoing the last word he'd spoken from Zero down on the factory floor. Rook? Ismash looked up at him, eyes widening ever so slightly. Who is he? The Nelvanian shook his head. Don't know, never heard of him before. He's here in Coghive 7. What species is he? No idea, Ismash shrugged. Look, there's lots of inmates on this list I've never met, he said. He was already beginning to back away, casting longing glances at the hallway. Now, if there's nothing else you need... There is. Maul's hand fell to the other inmate's shoulder, stopping him. I need you to hack back into the system again. Get the algorithms itself. Fix the next match so I'm fighting Rook. What? Ismash shot him a look of pure incredulity. That's a hard word. That's a big word for Elmo. Do you have any idea how difficult that's going to be? Especially after I hacked into it once already? He shook his head. After what happened in Medbay, the guards will be looking for anything out of the ordinary. You've done well, Maul said, nodding at the list of inmates. You've already proven yourself more valuable to my cause than anyone who was leading you. Strabo will learn his place beneath you, Maul said, if he has not already. I'll need time. You have until the next match. By my count, that gives you 3 hours. But I'll create a diversion, Maul said. I suggest you take advantage of it. How will I know when the time is right? I'll be in contact with you. He took the list and walked away. You might eat at a restaurant, Acadian? What kind of restaurant? Well, there was our book for the night. So sleepy. Alright, so I should be reading tomorrow unless I'm playing Minecraft. Friday is D&D, so yay. But yeah. I think I'm gonna end my stream because I am so tired. Which means I'm gonna go down to bed and I'm gonna scroll on TikTok for another like 15-20 minutes and then I'll go to sleep. But anyway, I hope you guys have a good night. I hope you have a good day tomorrow. Stay safe out there, to quote Bailey Siri, and make good choices. I love you guys. We're gonna get through this together. Anyway, I will see you tomorrow, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Night, y'all. And to all of my friends on the tube of you and Twitch, Man to Mom is